Let us start the session. So far we have seen our basic concepts related to the Google Cloud Platform. So we have covered what is GCP, okay, and after that GCP interfaces, GCP locations, GCP IAM and admin. Okay, so these are the concepts that we have seen, sir. These are the high level concepts that we have seen so far. Okay, from today onwards, we are going to start with one more topic, that is data engineering services. So these are the basic concepts related to the Google Cloud Platform. If anyone wanted to work with the Google Cloud Platform, they must know all of these basics. So these basics are covered in a very detail. Now we are going to start with the data engineering tools. Okay, we are going to start with the data engineering tools. I am going to tell you about two tools today. One is cloud storage, and one more is cloud SQL. Okay, these are the two tools that we are going to see. And if time permits, we will also see BigQuery. Okay, so these are the services that we are going to cover today, guys. So cloud storage, cloud SQL, BigQuery, what are these tools? How to work with these services? Let us try to understand. Similarly, we have a data processing services also, that is Dataproc, Dataflow, Data Fusion, Airflow. So these are the services also that we are going to see. Okay, that is our next in next session we are going to see that. So let us try to understand first set of services that we have completed already, and now we are going to start with these services. These are like storage and database services. So these are the basics, and here today we are going to see the data engineering services. These are the storage and database services. Storage and database services. Okay, let me go to next slide and let me gonna tell you. So we are going to start with storage and database services. Storage and database services in Google Cloud Platform. So if you wanted to work with the Google Cloud Platform, there are plenty of interface methods are there. Whatever the interface method that you can select, you can able to work with each and every service. And sir, I have a some 100 GB of the data. Sir, I have some 100 GB of the data. Assume that sir, I have a 100 GB of the data, and your client is telling you to store this data in Google Cloud Platform. Your client is telling you to store this data into the Google Cloud Platform, and you will ask him what kind of a data it is. The very first question you will ask him, what kind of a data it is. Is it a structured data? Is it a semi-structured data? Or is it a unstructured data? You will ask him, because according to the each requirement of the service in Google Cloud Platform, we have a different services available. Sir, if it is a unstructured data, unstructured, if it is a unstructured data in Google Cloud Platform, we can work with the GCS. We can store. For example, if he says this is a some file format, this is a some Parquet file, or this is a CSV file, or this is a JSON file, or it is a Avro file. If he says it is a file data, then you can directly assume that it is unstructured data. You can directly store it in the GCS. You can directly store it in the GCS. So that is what, if you wanted to work with a unstructured data, you can directly go to the Google Cloud Storage. Okay, similarly, sir, he says it is a structured data. If he says it is a structured data, okay, then you will ask him, sir, do you want me to store it in the database or data warehouse? Do you want me to store it in the database or data warehouse? Okay, so you can also ask him if you wanted to store it in the database or data warehouse. If you wanted to store it in the database, transactional database, that is we have Cloud SQL. If you wanted to store, if he asked you to store the data into the data warehouse in Google Cloud Platform, you can store the data into the BigQuery. Okay, so this is how for each and every requirement of your project, you will be having the different sets of services are available. Okay, so if it is unstructured data, you can directly store it in the Google Cloud Storage. And if it is a structured data, and or if it is a data warehouse data, or it is a database data, you can, if it is a database, you can directly create a Cloud SQL instance, create a database, and store the data into the Cloud SQL. If it is a data warehouse, go to the BigQuery, create a data set, create a table, and store the data there. So this is how we can store different whatever the data that you have, whether it is a file format, whether it is a tabular data. Okay, if it is a file format or if it is a tabular data, you can store it in here like this. So this is how different services are available as per our requirement. Different services are available as per our requirement. Now we are going to focus on these things, guys. The very first service is Google Cloud Storage. The next one is Google Cloud SQL. The third one is Google Cloud BigQuery. So let us try to understand each and everything as much as possible. Are you guys can hear me? Is my voice is audible properly? Or if you guys have any issues with the audio, please let me know, guys.
All good. Sure, sir.
Okay. So let us start with GCS, Cloud SQL, BigQuery. Okay, the category is that with the help of the unstructured data, that means with the help of the Google Cloud Storage, we can able to work with the unstructured data. Cloud SQL, it is a transactional database. BigQuery, which is a data warehouse database. So this is how we have a different varieties of the services are available in Google Cloud Platform. Let us start with the Google Cloud Storage. Let us start with Google Cloud Storage, guys, and let us try to understand what is Google Cloud Storage. You can also call it as a cloud storage. You can also call it as a GCS. Any name, that is fine. Google Cloud Storage, people usually call it as. First thing, what is Google Cloud Storage? So Google Cloud Storage is a service for storing your data. First thing is that it is a fully managed service. Very important point. It is a fully managed service. Okay, what is this one, sir? It is a fully managed service. If you wanted to work with the Google Cloud Storage, if you wanted to work with the Google Cloud Storage, give me 1 minute, guys. Yeah. So if you wanted to work with the Google Cloud Storage, you don't need to create any infrastructure. Okay, usually assume that, sir, if I wanted to if I wanted to store 100 GB of the data, what we have to do? Can you guys confirm once? If you wanted to store 100 GB of the data, what we have to do, sir?
Google Cloud Storage.
No, if not with the cloud, if you do not have a cloud, what you will do? If you do not have a cloud, what is the thing that
Local
you will do?
disk. Hard disk.
So you have to first purchase anything. You have to purchase the hardware. whether it is a local disk or if it is a laptop or some system or whatever it is, you need to purchase some hardware. Once you have purchased some hardware, you have to do the configuration for the hardware. Once you have set up the configuration, you need to set up the system, you need to set up the networking, and you need to assign the backup. And then once you have assigned the backup, then your hardware is ready to store the 100 GB of the data. That's where you store the data here. Okay, so whenever you wanted to store some 100 GB of the data in on premises, you need to first purchase the hardware. So it takes some time setting up the configuration, network configuration, as well as system configuration, and assigning the storage and assigning the backup. Will all of these things takes a lot of time. Okay, tomorrow it is not 100 GB, but you have you bought a hardware. Your disk is like only 100 GB, which can store. But tomorrow your client gave you one more 100 GB. What we have to do, sir? Again,
Same.
Now we have to store 200 GB of the data, but your hardware can only store 100 GB of the data. So you have to buy one more hardware and connect it to this existing hardware so that it can store 100 plus 100, 200 GB of the data. And again, for this hardware also do the configuration, networking, backup, and connecting it to this net. All of these things we have to do. Okay, so this is all the things is something that are new, that you have to take care of all of these things, right? If you wanted to store some 100 GB of the data, you need to do all of these things one by one, then only you can able to store it. And this takes a lot of time for you, lot of effort for you, lot of time taking for you. So it is a time taking, effort taking, and money taking. So instead, what we can do is that we can go to the Google Cloud Storage. In Google Cloud Storage, it is a fully managed service. So all of these things are already taken care. All of these things are already taken care. We can just store the data. We can create one bucket and we can store the data. So that is what is the agenda of the fully managed services. So if you wanted to store any type of a data in the cloud storage, you don't need to worry about purchasing the hardware, network configuration, system configurations, storage, assigning the storage backup. You don't need to worry about anything. You don't need to worry about creating any kind of infrastructure. Okay, we can just work on directly to store the data. So that is the reason it is a fully managed service. So what is this one, sir? It is a fully managed service for storing your data. It is a fully managed service. So there is no headache, no infrastructure headache. You do not need to worry about whether you have to create infrastructure, all of these things. You don't need to worry about it because it is a fully managed service. Okay, sir, this is a fully managed service, that is totally fine. So what we can do with the Google Cloud Storage, sir? So all the things are taken care by the cloud storage. So all configuration, networking, all of these things, sir. What kind of a service it is? Can you tell me? Sir, it is a service for storing your data. It is a service for storing your data. Okay, it is a service for what, sir? Storing your data. So with the help of the Google Cloud Storage, we can store the data. Sir, what kind of a data we can store? Can you confirm? What kind of a data we can store? Any type of a data we can store. Unstructured, yes. That means any type of a data, right? Any type of a data we can store. So in unstructured data, whether it is a CSV or Avro, when I say any type, whether it can be a CSV or a JSON or a Parquet or a Avro or a ORC, whatever, whether it is a audio file or a video file, whatever it is, you name it, anything can be stored here. Word file, PDF, all audio files, video files, all of these things we can able to store here. audio files, video files. Okay, so this is what is something that you have to look at it. So with the help of the cloud storage, you can able to store any type of a data. First thing, sir, how much amount of data we can store? For example, when you are working in a on-premises, if the requirement is 100 GB, you only purchase the 100 GB. That means you can only store the 100 GB. If you wanted to store one more 100 GB of the data, you need to purchase one more. And again, if it is a 300, again you have to purchase. So your requirement, if the requirement changes, you have to purchase. You have to keep on purchasing the items, the hardware. Similarly, sir, if we wanted to store the amount of data in the cloud storage, total how much amount of data we can store? Can you confirm? Sir, I have here 1 GB of the data, 10 GB of the data. Can you confirm how much amount of data we can store it here? There is no restriction on that. We can store any amount of data. Okay. Today you stored 100 GB. Tomorrow you can store one more 100 GB without worrying about any infrastructure, without worrying about any hardware purchase. So any amount of data you can store. Second thing, sir, I wanted to store some amount of data. Can I store it? Yes. Whether it is 100 GB, 200 GB, 500 GB, any amount of data you can able to store in the Google Cloud Storage. And one more thing, sir. Sir, I have 10 files, I have 15 files, I have 20 files. How many number of files I can able to store it, sir? Any number of files you can able to store it here. Okay, so this is how it is a service for storing any type of a data, any amount of data, any number of files. So that is what is Google Cloud Storage definition, sir. As a definition point of view, it is a service for storing any type of a data, any amount of data, any number of files. So that is what is Google Cloud Storage. Okay, so usually when you are actually storing the objects, right? So these are all objects only. It's the files, right? CSV file, we call it as a file format. So that's the reason it is also called as a file storage service, file or object storage service. Okay, it is a file storage service or an object storage service. Okay, object is nothing but a file only, sir. You can actually call it as a object storage service. Okay, object storage service, because object is nothing but, what is mean by object, sir? In data world, object is nothing but a file of any format. Any file you take. If it is having CSV, you call it as a one object. Two CSVs, two objects. So a object storage service. The cloud storage is an object storage service, sir. Because we are going to store the objects only. Okay, so this is how the cloud storage is. Sir, I wanted to store the data now. So far the definitions are fine. Sir, I wanted to store the data now. So what I have to do, sir? If I wanted to store the data, what I have to do? Okay, so if you wanted to store the data, we need to store the data, we need to create the bucket. We need to create the bucket. Then we can able to properly store the data. Okay, then we can upload data. So that is what is something that we need to remember. Sir, if I wanted to work with the Google Cloud Storage, that means I have a lot of data with me, sir. Now I wanted to store it in the Google Cloud Storage. What we have to do? Sir, if you wanted to store the data in the Google Cloud platform, Google Cloud Storage, you need to create the bucket. And then you can upload the data. Then what is a bucket, sir? The bucket is nothing but a folder. It's like a folder, sir. It's a container, you can think of. It's like a container or a folder to store objects. So in a household, if you look at it in a bucket, right? If you wanted to store the water, what do? You use some container, right? That container is nothing but a bucket, sir. A bucket is nothing but a container to store your data. Okay, so this is what is the definition, sir. This is what is the definition of a cloud storage. Let us go and try to create a bucket, and how to create a bucket, let us try to understand. Okay, let us go to the Google Cloud Storage and let us try to create a bucket. So similarly, it is like a bucket only, sir. For example, assume that, so this is a bucket, right? This is a bucket. Okay, inside that, you can keep water. Okay, usually you call this as a bucket. Same thing, this is a bucket only, but this is data. Okay, so this is your bucket, sir. This is your data, sir. Okay, a bucket is a container to store data. So here, instead of data, I can call it as an object. But okay, because it is a CSV file, it is a file data, right? You can call it as an objects. Okay, object is nothing but a file of any format. So this is what is a bucket, sir. So if I wanted to store the files, sir, if I wanted to store the files, what we need to do, sir, first? Can you guys confirm?
Create a bucket.
We need to create the bucket. A bucket is nothing but a container to store the objects. Okay, let us try to do that. I'll go to the Google Cloud Platform. I select the project. I hope I told you how to create a account. So I hope you have created the account. If you wanted to go to the work with the cloud storage, first search whether you can able to come here, and you can also search here cloud storage, or you can also search here cloud storage. Sorry.
Sir, can you tell about little bit about project?
Sorry?
Can you tell a little bit about project?
The project is nothing but and all the resources are connected to the project only. So if you wanted to tag the billing for each and every service that is working in a project, so all the resources are coupled together so that it is comes under the project.
Is it logical grouping?
Container? Yes, it's a resource group. You can think of like a resource group.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a cloud storage, guys. So if you wanted to work with the cloud storage, either you can search from here, or you can go to the left navigation menu as well. So you can see here cloud storage is the enterprise ready object storage service. Click on this one. Okay, so this is our morning project. Okay, let me create one more. Let us try to create one more project, guys, for our requirement. So if you wanted to create a new project, you come to the project area. I told you already these steps. Come to the project area, click on this one, click on this new project. So I told you already, if you wanted to create any project, we need to provide the project name as well as project ID. So the project name is, we can give morning bootcamp. Okay, so you can just keep it like this project ID, or if you wanted to change it, you can change it. That's fine. This is your project ID, sir. Or else you can give your own project ID also, saying that it is at 6:30. Okay, so this is my project ID. Click on create. So whenever you wanted to create a project, you come to the project area, click on new project and provide the details. That's it. The project will be created. And once the project is created, you can come here, click on morning bootcamp. So that is how it is. So a project is created. We are going to work in that project. Click on this cloud storage. Go to the cloud storage. So this is how empty it is. It's because in this project, we have not worked with the cloud storage so far. We are going to work with it. Now you can also see here, cloud storage and retrieve your data. So I forgot to tell you this thing. So what is the main advantage of the cloud storage is that, so today you are storing the data. Tomorrow you want this data. Why we are storing the data, guys? What is the agenda for storing the data? Can you guys confirm? Why we are storing? Are we just storing it for time pass purpose?
For the project related.
So the data, whatever the data that we are storing it, right? So we are going to retrieve it later for our data processing purpose or data analysis purpose, data management, whatever it is. So as a data engineer, we first store the data, then we do the data processing, then we do the data analysis, and then we do the data visualization. So the very first activity in a Google Cloud storage is that if you wanted to store the data or you wanted to retrieve the data, you can able to use the Google Cloud Storage. You can able to store the data here. Afterwards, if you wanted to retrieve it, you can able to retrieve it also. Okay, via link. Retrieve it via URL. URL. You can able to use the URL. So whenever you store it, right, there will be a URL created. Usually call it as a URI. So with the help of the URI, you can able to retrieve the data also. Okay, so that is the agenda. Okay, we are not just storing the data, guys. Once we store the data, it creates some kind of a URL. That URL we can use it. So whenever you want the data, you can actually use that URL to extract the data from that particular file. Okay, let me gonna show you in action. So this is how the cloud storage looks like, guys. So if you wanted to work with the cloud storage, as I told you, what we have to do,
bucket creation.
we have to create the bucket, right? So click on create bucket. So you can see here, if I wanted to store my objects, I need to create this bucket. Okay, so this is what we are looking at it now. If I wanted to store the objects, we need to create the bucket. So now, so if you wanted to create a bucket, you can just click on create bucket. Okay, click on create bucket. And we have to just provide the name of the bucket. So I am providing the name of the bucket is landing bucket. Landing bucket. And if you give some name, okay, so if you give some random name, it doesn't take it, guys. Okay, you see here, the bucket name is already taken. So we have to give the globally unique name. So whenever it is already taken, we have to take a globally unique name. So I'm taking bucket, landing bucket 630. Okay, so I am giving some name which is unique name. Okay, once you have provided the bucket name, click on continue, and we have to select the location where we wanted to store the data. So this locations concept, as I already told you, whenever you wanted to store the data, you need to select the geographic location of where it is actually getting stored. So whether you wanted to store it in a multi-region or a dual region or a single region. So you can select the single region. So any location you can select it. Sir, I wanted to store it in the US Central one. So you can see here the cost of that particular service is this much. Or if you wanted to store it in some other location, South Zones, you can store it here. Okay. So when you select a single region, there won't be any replication. So that is the reason the data, we may lose the data whenever there is a some earthquake or tsunami or unexpected failure happen. In that cases, we can go for the multi-region also. So multi-region means when you select a US, the data will be replicated to the multiple regions, so that even though in one of the region the data is crashed, in another region we can able to extract the data. So that is how multi-region is a one of the safe option. So that's the reason I am going with a multi-region. Okay. Once you have selected the location, this concept is already covered, guys. You can go to the GCP locations and look at that. So when you select a one region or a one zone, the problem is that there can be an unexpected failure. So to avoid the unexpected failure, we can go for the multi-region or multi-zone. Okay, now I'm going with the multi-regional. So once we select a multi-region, click on continue. And we have a storage classes. Okay, look at here. So if you wanted to store some kind of a data, there are four things. There are four types. One is standard, nearline, cold line, and archive. So the storage classes is something that, for example, sir, I have a file. Assume that some criteria I will try to tell you. Sir, I have a 4 files. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sir, I have a total 4 files are there. The first file I am going to access it frequently. The second file I'm accessing it once in a month. The third file I'm accessing it once in a quarter. The fourth file I'm accessing it once in a year. So these are the different requirements. So if you try to put the same cost for each and everything, it is logically not correct. Okay, so if you wanted to store a frequently accessed data, select the standard storage class. If you wanted to store the data which you are going to access it once in a month, we are not talking about storing the data, we are talking about retrieving the data, sir. If you are retrieving the data frequently, then look at the storage class as standard. If you are retrieving the data once in a month, then go for the nearline. Nearline. If you are retrieving the data once in a quarter, go for the cold line. If you are accessing the data once in a year, go for archive. Okay, so these are the four storage classes that we have, sir. So as per your requirement, so if you given some 100 GB of the data, if your client is given 100 GB of the data, you will ask him first thing. Okay, the very first thing is that, sir, are we going to retrieve this data frequently, or it is a once in a month, or once in a quarter, or once in a year, so that you can able to select the proper storage class. So here we once in a month you can go for standard frequently data you can go for standard, for once in a month nearline, and once in a year, quarter cold line, once in a year archive. Okay, so these are the four storage classes that we have. Now you can also go here, same thing. So best for short-term data and frequently accessed data. Best for data accessed once in a month, data accessed once in a quarter, data accessed once in a year. So this is how you have four storage classes. Set the storage class as per your requirement, and this is an editable option. Once you have provided this also, you can able to change it later also. So today you have given standard. Tomorrow if you wanted to change it to the nearline or a cold line, you can still again do that. Okay, so this is how I am selecting the nearline now. Once in a standard, I wanted to, whatever the files I am uploading it, I am going to frequently access it. So that's the reason I am going for the standard. Click on continue. Okay, so the next option is access control, sir. Total name of the bucket we have provided, location we have selected, storage class we have selected, and we have to select the access control. We have to select the access control, sir. Access control is something that you are going to store. For example, you have created some bucket now. You have created this bucket now, and you are going to do what, sir? You are going to do what?
Upload the data.
We are going to upload the data, nothing but objects, later point of time. Right, we are going to upload the objects later point of time. So who can access this data? Is nothing but an access control. Who can access this data? Who can access this data or the bucket? You can select anything. So who can access this bucket or who can access this data? Okay, so if you wanted to take care of that thing, so you need to properly provide the access control options. You have to take care of it with the help of the access control. While creating the bucket, you have to provide the access control options properly. Okay, so because whatever the bucket that we are creating, we are going to upload the objects inside it, and then nothing but the files we are going to upload it. So if you wanted to provide the access to some people, that can be done with the help of the access control only. So you can see here, choose how to control access to your objects, because we don't want it to provide the access to the data to a people where which are not authorized. Okay, when you are working in a team, you can only provide the access to your team members. You shouldn't provide the access to the people which are not working in your team. Okay, so that is the reason there are two options. One is access control. One access control is uniform. The next one is fine grained. So first thing is that, do you want it to enforce the access to the public? Okay, public prevention is something that you don't want it to provide the access to the public. So prevent the public access. Okay, if you don't want it to prevent it, you can select it. If you don't select this option, what happens is that whatever the data that you are uploading it, right, can be accessible by any other person, any other public person also. So that's the reason we don't want that. We select enforce public access. Then come to the access control. How do you want it to control the access to the data? Okay, do you want it to provide? Okay, so let me go here. Okay, let me remove that. Okay. So let me remove this thing. Okay, access control. When you go to the access control, what happens is that, do you want it to provide the access to the entire bucket level? Bucket level access. There are two things, right? Bucket level access we can do, and object level access. Okay. Bucket level access is something that if you provide a bucket level access, whatever the files inside the bucket, the user can able to access it. If you provide a bucket level access to the user, okay, that bucket level access is nothing but a uniform, sir. So if you provide a bucket level access to some user, this user can access all the files inside the bucket. All the files in bucket, he can able to access it. That is what is a uniform access control. In a uniform access control, if you provide the uniform access control permission to the one of the user can able to access all the files inside the bucket. So that means you have provided him the access at bucket level. So that is the reason it is called as a uniform. So that means uniformly having the same access to all the files inside the bucket. Okay. Similarly, we have a object level access. Object level access. Nothing but a fine grained. Fine grained access, guys. In a fine grained, if you provide a permission to one of the user, so usually in a fine grained, we can only provide the access at bucket level. That means for one object, we can provide one user. For the same object, if you wanted to provide, you need to provide the user. So that means you are providing the access for each and every user to the each and every bucket. Each and every object. So what happens is that, so if you wanted to provide the object level permissions, for individual object you wanted to provide the access to the each user, then you can go for the fine grained. So for example, look at like this. For example, I have a bucket here. In a bucket, this is my bucket, sir. I have a file 1. I have a file 2. I have a file 3. So if you provide a bucket level permission to some manager, so what he can access, sir, now onwards? How many files he can access? If you provide him the bucket level permissions, when you provide him the bucket level permissions, yes, all files he can able to access. Okay, so this is what is nothing but a bucket level permission, also called as a uniform. The second thing is that object level permission. That means this is one object, this is one object, this is one object. So when you provide a object level permission, that means you go to this object. So there is a developer. You provided him the access to this particular file. So object level permission we have provided to the one of the developer. So now this guy will be having an access to how many files? Only one file, because you provided the access to the only one file. So this is called as a object level permissions. Okay, so there are two types. One is bucket level. When we provide the bucket level, the entire files we are going to provide the access. And one more is fine grained. So for each and every file I wanted to control the access. In that case, you can go for the fine grain. So in a fine grain, you can control the access to the individual buckets. Okay, so that is what is two options. We have a uniform, we have a fine grain. We have a uniform and we have a fine grain. So I can come, sorry. So I can come here, you can see here we have a access control. So uniform. You ensure uniform access to all the objects in the bucket by providing bucket level permissions. So this can be done with the help of the IAM. Fine grain. Specify the access to the individual objects by providing the object level permissions. This can be done using the ACL, access control list. Okay, so these are the two things that we have. Okay, so these are the two things that we have. One is uniform, one more is fine grain. This is bucket level, this is object level. Okay, so I am selecting the fine grain, sir. Click on continue. I wanted to provide the access at a object level. So that is how I have selected the fine grained access. Click on continue. Now final thing is that protecting the data. So how to protect the data? So this is our final option. So where, sir, I wanted to protect the data. If you wanted to protect the data, do you wanted to put some kind of a software delete policy? So when you put a software delete policy, if you deleted one file, within 7 days, you can able to easily retrieve it. Okay, software delete policy is like for recovery purpose. So if you have deleted some file, sir, I want that file to be recovered. So maximum, whatever the day that you are going to provide it, right? It can be within that days, you can able to easily retrieve it. I mean, recover it. So software delete policy is for mainly for the data recovery purpose. Even though, sir, I have deleted one file from the bucket, sir, how can I retrieve it? You can always recover it within the 7 days of delete policy. So if you want it to be 8 days, you can update it according to your requirement, whether it is 8 seconds or 8 days or 8 months, maximum 90 days they are providing. Okay, maximum 90 days. It's not more than that. So whether it is 8 days, maximum 90 days we can able to provide. That means, so maximum 90 days if you provide it, even though you have deleted any file from your bucket, within that 90 days you can able to recover it. Okay, so that is software delete policy. Okay, if you want object versioning, you can go for object versioning also. Okay, object versioning is something like your Git. Object versioning is something like your Git, sir. Okay, so object versioning is something like Git. That means, for example, I have a file one, sir. Okay, so if you upload the same file one, so file one, this is version A, version one. The same file will be stored as a version 2. Okay, so this is how you can, if you upload the same file, there will be a version 3 also. You can store multiple versions of the same file. So that is nothing but an object versioning. Okay, sometimes what happens is that you have a file one, you add some data, some 10 records you have added it, and you again stored it. So if you want original file as well as a modified file, both, if you want it, in that case, you can enable the object version. So when you enable the object versioning, you can have different versions of the same file. But if you don't enable it, the older file is gone. That means you are going to overwrite it. The older file is gone if you don't enable the object version. So only the newer version will be available. Okay, but if you enable the object versioning, all the versions of the file will be stored. All the previous versions of the files will be stored. So that is what is object versioning. Okay, and similarly we have, you can go here. So this is what object versioning, we can select how many maximum concurrent versions we can select, 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it is. Now this is object version. Similarly, we have a retention policy. So when you select a retention policy, so for example, if you mention some um, 240 seconds. That means 4 minutes. Okay, that means 4 minutes. So whenever you are, what is the agenda is that, for example, this is a bucket. If you put a retention policy as 1 minute or 4 minutes or 1 day or 4 days, whatever the retention policy you can put it. It is minutes or days or months or whatever it is, you can put it. So within the retention period, if someone is, so if you have a one file 1.csv, if someone is trying to delete this file or modify this file, they cannot be able to do it within the retention period. Okay, within the retention period, if you put some kind of a retention period on the bucket, within that retention period, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. So that is what is a bucket retention policy. Okay, so within the retention period, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. Okay, so that is what is a bucket retention policy. What is a bucket retention policy, sir? For example, if I give here 2 hours, that means within the 2 hours, as soon as the file is uploaded. So as soon as the file is uploaded, for next 2 hours, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. So the time from the upload, that means if it is 11 a.m., if you put 2 hours, that means until 1 a.m. during this time, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. So that is what. After that, if they wanted to delete it, they can able to delete it. So that is possible. Okay, but within the retention period, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. Okay, so that is how it works, guys. Okay, so you come here, we have here retention. When you put a set retention policy, so if you put 240 seconds, that means 4 minutes. Within that 4 minutes time, if one whatever the file is uploaded, within that 4 minutes, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. So that is what is a retention policy. Okay, you can see here, guys. So we have, if I wanted to create a bucket, we provided the bucket name, selected the location properly, selected the storage class as per the requirement, selected the access control. We have a uniform and fine grained. We selected the fine grained, and we have selected the protecting the data. We given the soft delete. It's your choice, guys. If you wanted to go for soft delete, I don't wanted to go for I delete. I unselect it. I wanted to go for retention. I select the retention 240 and mention the seconds. Click on create. Okay, click on create. So once you click on create, the bucket will be created. You can see here, guys, this is the bucket that we have created just now. It's very fast, guys. So you selected multi-region, and it is a standard storage class you have selected. Fine grained you have selected. Retention policy of 4 minutes is there. So all of these things are here, guys. So now, once the bucket is created, what is our agenda, sir?
Upload the objects.
So our agenda is that by the main agenda for creating a bucket is that we are going to store the objects inside it. We are going to store the objects inside it. So if you wanted to store the objects, either you can upload a file or upload a folder or from any other automatic tools like maybe data processing tools or maybe using Python or application, you can also store it here. Okay, anyway you can do it, whether you can do it manually or via some tool also you can able to do. Okay, so if you wanted to upload it, so click on this upload, clicking on the students file. So you see here one file I have uploaded, CSV file. Any file we can upload it. So if I try to delete it with the whether the file is deleted or not, guys.
It's a soft delete.
No, we have put a retention policy, if you remember, guys.
Yeah.
So the bucket deletion gets failed. It's because it is subjected to the retention policy. Okay, as soon as the file is uploaded, what is the retention period we have selected, guys? What is the retention period we have selected?
4 days.
4 minutes. Okay, so within the 4 minutes, as soon as the file is uploaded, okay, within the 4 minutes, you cannot be able to delete it. Even though you try to delete it any number of times, you cannot be able to delete it. Okay, so that is what happens, cannot be deleted. So that is how protecting the data. So this is how protecting the data works. So when you put a retention policy, as soon as the file is uploaded for the next retention period of the time, we cannot be able to delete it or modify it also. Okay, so this is how the retention policy works. Okay, and similarly, so you can click on this file. Sir, I wanted to retrieve this file. This is a path to retrieve the file. To retrieve the file within the Google Cloud platform, this is the path. To outside the Google Cloud platform, this is the path. Whoever is authenticated only, they can able to access these files. Access this file. Sir, if I wanted to provide the access to all the people, can I provide it, sir? Yes, of course, you can provide the access to this one also. So for example, I can click on this permissions. So we can able to provide the bucket level permission as well as object level permission also. So when you selected a fine range, both can possible, guys. When you go for the bucket level, that is nothing but uniform. You can only do bucket level permissions. But in addition to the bucket level, sir, I wanted to work with the object level also. In that case, you can go for fine grained. Fine grained, you can achieve both. You can do bucket level as well as object level. So that is the advantage of the fine grained. So now you are inside the access control fine grained. So if you wanted to provide the access to all the people, grant access. Okay, sorry. Okay, it should come. All users. No, did they remove that all users option or what? Okay, seems like they have removed it. Or 1 minute, guys. Let me check it there. I'm not sure because there are two things, guys. So this is bucket level permission. Bucket level permission means that means entire bucket level we can provide the access. Okay. Okay. 1 minute, guys. I forgot that. Yeah. So for example, sir, I wanted to provide the access to all of you guys. That means this is a file. I want to provide the access to all of you. So if I wanted to provide the access to this particular file to you, let me click on this file and click on this edit access. You have edit access is there, right? So click on this edit access button. Click on add entry. One more entry you can add. Whether it is a user or a group or a public, you can mention. Public, when you mention, it will be having all users. Okay. So we are making it as a public. This file, we are making it as a public. You click on save. That means okay, we have while we are creating the bucket, we have enforced the public access, guys. So that is the reason we cannot be able to select the all users. So that option is disabled actually. So if that is the case, if I wanted to provide the access to all of you, that is not actually possible. So let me go to configuration. So this is what happens actually. We have enabled this one. Public access prevention, it is enabled. It cannot be changed later. But instead, what I will do, if I wanted to provide an access to you, so let me try to create a one more bucket. Here it is. So do you want it to enforce it? No. Confirm. So I have created one more bucket for our understanding. So this is the same bucket. So click on upload a file, upload this file. Okay, once you have uploaded it, click on the students, click on edit access. One minute, guys. Switch to the fine grained. In a fine grained only, we can take care of the object level permissions, right? So that's the reason. You can go to the this one and click on edit access and click on add entry, and you can select public and all users can save. Okay, so that means we have provided this access to this particular file to all of the people. Whoever is having this particular link, they can able to access this file, guys. I am going to put this link in the chat. I want you guys to verify and let me know whether you are able to see this file and data also. Okay, I have kept the link in the chat. I want you guys to confirm whether you can able to access this link and access this data file or not.
Yes, we can access.
Okay, so this is what happens. So whenever you wanted to provide the access, today I have made you public, but tomorrow, as per the requirement, we just select only the people who needs an access to this particular file. Okay, what do? You come here, you add a user, and his email ID you will add, whether it is reader or owner, you will mention and click on save. Okay, so for the file, you can, if you wanted to download it, you have the download option, edit access, delete access, all the files are here only. All the options are here only. Okay, so this is how, whether you wanted to delete a file or upload a file. If even though you can create inside the folders also, if you wanted to create a folder, so I can create a folder one. If you wanted to create a folder inside the bucket also, you can create it. For more organizing your data, you can create folders also. Okay, so such that you can create folders, you can create files, you can upload files, you can transfer the data to this particular bucket, and you can retention policy, all of these things you can able to do it. Anything can be possible here. Download it, delete it, and all of the options are here only. We just have to go to each and every option. Just look at it. Permissions wise, access control and IAM. Bucket soft delete is enabled. If you wanted to enable the retention also, you can do that. If you wanted to set the retention policy, 240 seconds, save the retention policy. If you wanted to delete the retention policy, you can delete it again. Okay, soft delete is already there for 7 days. You don't want for 7 days, you wanted to for 5 days only, you can save. Okay, minimum 7 days. You wanted it for 8 days, you can select it, save. So, or you wanted to delete it, you can delete it. So it's your choice. All the options are here only. We just have to come here and select it, guys. Whatever we are doing, all the operations actually stored here only. Okay, so let us try to refresh it. Usually, all the operations maybe not here, maybe here. Somewhere here there will be a operations tool will be there. There all the entire operations will be stored. Okay, somewhere it has to show whether you are deleting a file, creating a file, whatever you are doing. So I'm not sure why it is not showing. I'm not sure. It's supposed to show the operations, guys. For you, maybe it will show. Maybe I'm not sure. So it will create the operations, guys. Whether you are uploading a file, the time when it is uploaded, and when it is lost modified, all of those details it is going to be showing the operational details here. So that is how it is. Okay. So all the configuration is here. If you wanted to edit it, you can able to edit few of the options, permissions, protection, life cycle. All of the options are here. Okay. Yeah. Any questions?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Do we have any option in GCS to host the static website like AWS S3?
Yeah, it is there. I mean, if you wanted to store your data, I mean, that option is directly not available, but programmatically you can achieve it. Yes. Okay, you can have your data stored here, and on top of the data, you can able to create some kind of a website. Yes, that's possible.
Same like AWS, we can host
Right.
a static website here.
Yes, yes.
How could you please show?
So it's, I mean, it's not directly possible. Directly with the help of the UI, it is not possible. See, when you wanted to create a website, you need to have the code, whether it is a Python or a Java code. With that code and the backend data can be stored here so that you can host a website here. Okay, so that is how it works.
And one more question, if we want to means store more than means like 5 GB or 10 GB data, so how we can upload it? In AWS, we are using AWS S3 CP command, and here we are having any command, and how we can configure the CLI like AWS
We can have similarly, we
integrated.
have a CLI, Cloud Shell, right? So we have a CLI. With the help of the CLI, we can able to upload.
It is only on browser based. If we want to
No, 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 no. I
configure it
told you,
on.
right? CLI, right? I told you CLI, right?
Mhm.
SDK, I told you in our upcoming and in our previous sessions, Google Cloud SDK you can download, and from there you can move it anytime,
Which
any amount.
credential we need to require to configure in AWS? We are using secret access key and access key, and here which credential required to configure it in our
Service account,
system?
service account,
Service account.
yeah, service account and its key. Okay, so for example, sir, I in my machine assume that, sir, I have a lot of data. Okay, so if you have some lot of data, and that data is there in some other machine, some other virtual machine, or some other any other machine, any other laptop or whatever it is. So if you wanted to move this data to the Google Cloud Storage, what we have to do is that we can install we can do it with help of the SDK first. Okay, we can do it with the help of the SDK, software development kit. So if you wanted to do it with the help of the SDK, this SDK CLI has to be installed on top of these machines. Okay, this SDK CLI has to be installed on top of these machines, and we can run a command so that the entire data moves from here to here. Okay, so for the authentication purpose, we can use service account and key. Okay, we have to use the service account and key for the authorization purpose. Okay, any other questions, guys?
So here we are having the option of cross-region replication like AWS S3.
No, cross region replication is not there. Only the inter region. So in a particular location, you can go for the multi-regional.
Mm.
When I say multi-regional, it is nothing but a cross-regional only, but you don't select it. Okay, we manually don't select it. Even in the AWS also, you don't select it, right? In the backend, it automatically happens.
We need to configure the cross-region replication if we want.
But you don't need to specifically mention that, because that's what happens in the backend. Okay. So for
Yeah, yeah,
example,
correct.
just now we have selected, if you remember, we have selected this bucket as US.
Mhm.
Okay. So US multiple regions. So US is a location. Inside that you have a multiple regions, right? So
Yeah.
that's multiple regions. It's already replicated. Multiple regions is nothing but a cross region only, right? The name itself it is different, but it is nothing but
Mhm.
cross region. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. AWS you cannot select region. It are by default. Yeah.
Here also multi, you call it as a multi-region. That is nothing but a cross region. It's the same thing. Both are same. The terminology is different. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone?
Oh, but please show me the cloud shell, how we can upload. Please show me
So
the.
that is not. I mean, this is that is not covered here, guys. So that's actually, if you wanted to work with a Cloud Shell, you can always activate the Cloud Shell. You can run the gsutil commands. Okay, gsutil commands ls. Okay, if you want, just now we have created two buckets, right? You can able to see the list of buckets here. Okay, so this is how you'll be able to interact with the cloud storage. See here. So if you wanted to list out the files, gsutil ls, if you wanted to see the files inside it, you can able to see. Sorry, you can able to see the files. If you wanted to copy the data, gsutil copy command you can use. Okay, see here we have the file, and we have created one folder also. Okay, if you wanted to copy the data, you can use gsutil copy command or move command, deleting the data, rm command. So plenty of the things are already there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. I think this is it. If you guys have any questions on the Google Cloud storage, let me know.
Sure, sure, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so this is what is cloud storage, sir. So let us try to understand. First thing is that if you can see here, if I wanted to work with any kind of a data, any unstructured data, any file format data, we can go to the cloud storage. Okay. Similarly, sir, I wanted to store the data which is in the tabular format, not in the file format. Okay, I wanted to store the data in the tabular format. What I can do, sir? So that means it is a structured data. So if you wanted to store the structured data, you can able to store it in the Cloud SQL as well as BigQuery. So let us try to see what is Cloud SQL and what is how to store the data into the Cloud SQL. Okay, so let us try to see that. Cloud SQL is nothing but your one of the database management service. Okay, DBMS. Okay, let me gonna tell you. Just let me gonna give you the definition, guys. Maybe in our next session we will try to understand more. Okay, it's already 7:46. Okay, let us see it in the next class, guys. Okay, let's not go into that. So let us see how what is Cloud SQL and how to work with the Cloud SQL. Similarly, what is BigQuery and how to work with the BigQuery in our next sessions we will try to see. Okay, yeah. Anyone have any questions?
Actually, I only got late. You said it's 7 o'clock now. Today you completed this cloud storage.
Yes, yes.
GCS only.
Sorry?
Only GCS only, na? Today? Storage
Yes,
and...
only GCS we have seen, yes.
Oh.
Okay, in our next session we will see.
Here
Yeah.
I have one question. Maybe in next sessions we are going to cover that. So if it is structured data or non-structured data, we are using this GCS. And what about in which cases we are using TPT or some like Airflow Cloud Composer?
Cloud Composer, you are asking?
Yes, sir.
So Cloud Composer is a workflow orchestration tool. Okay, we will understand that because we will be having one project on it. So I'll tell you. But the thing is that Cloud Composer is a workflow orchestration tool. So you have some 100 workflows you wanted to orchestrate them. So assume that every day there is a bucket one, and you have a bucket two. Every day I wanted to load the file from here to here, because your client is loading the file one every day. Different files of the different files he's uploading to the file one. So you don't want it to manually upload every day the bucket files to the bucket one to bucket two. You don't want it to do that. In that case, you can actually use the Airflow. So Airflow is something like, you know, a repetitive task. You can actually do it. What we call as a repetitive task. Okay, so we can automate those things with the help of the Airflow. That is one version of the Airflow, is that you can do repetitive task, or you can automate the repetitive task. So here, instead of we manually uploading this file from moving the file from bucket one to bucket two, you can use Airflow. Automatically, when you write a code in the Python, what it will do is that it automatically moves the data from this one to this one. This is one way of doing it. With the help of the Airflow, you can create the data processing pipelines. With the help of the Airflow, you can schedule it. With the help of the Airflow, you can monitor it. So anything is possible with the help of the Airflow. Okay, repetitive task we can automate it, creating a data processing pipelines, scheduling the data processing pipelines, monitoring the jobs. So that's the reason it is called as a workflow orchestration, because we can create it, we can automate it, we can schedule it, monitor it. Instead of calling all the four names, people usually call it as one name, that is workflow orchestration tool, that we will see in our upcoming sessions. Okay.
Okay. So today we have listed flat files like CSV, JSON files. Maximum these files can be 100 GB. But if it is more than 100 GB or some
You can
data,
store any number of 100 GB. There is nothing like 100 GB. You can store any number of data. Okay. Maximum, I think, the file size 5 TB, I guess. File size maximum in a bucket in a GCS. It is 5 TB. See here, up to 5 TB you can store. If that means it is not the bucket size, it's the file size. So for example, I have a bucket, and maximum bucket size is unlimited. Bucket size is unlimited. But file size, if it is one file is there, sir, what is the maximum size of this file is 5 TB. Maximum of file size is 5 TB. It's not GB, sir, it is terabytes. Okay. So such terabytes of the files you can actually store any number. So some 100 also you can store. That means it becomes 5 into 100, almost 500 terabytes of the data. Also you can store it in the one bucket. Also, more than also you can store it. Okay.
Okay. And today we have discussed about GCS and flat files. So if we are loading the databases data, means some database is there, and if we have wants to load that data on GCS bucket or BigQuery data warehouse. So what will be the process that
will see
first
that.
we'll bring to the GCS bucket and then we'll take to the BigQuery.
So that we will see. We just covered only GCS. When we are covering the BigQuery, how to move the data from the GCS, we will see.
Okay, sir. Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Okay, so we just covered only GCS, and when we are covering all these services, everything makes sense here.
Another one, sir. I have another question.
Yeah.
We want to do unstructured and structured data storage. Then any common services there are.
Which one? Sorry, which one?
If we want to store unstructured.
Your voice is breaking. No, your voice is breaking because I can't hear you. Sorry. You can put the question in the chat. No, I can't hear you.
Then any.
For storing the
Okay,
structured,
I will directly message. Okay.
for storing the structured and unstructured.
Yeah, sir. Any common services there, sir?
No,
That's
that's not there. Okay, structured plus unstructured is again. So you mean to say, I wanted to store some CSV file, I wanted to store some table in a one service. You can't do that.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
You can't do that.
Okay.
You can't do that. I mean, the thing is that the requirement is not like that. The project's requirement will not be like that. So that's the reason it is logically it is not correct. So that's the reason you do not have any service. Okay. Yep. Okay, guys. This is it for today.
Sir, one more question I'm having. Can we configure event notification while we are uploading or deleting any file from the GCS bucket
That
storage?
is possible. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is
So
possible.
which service we need to integrate? Like in AWS,
PubSub.
we are using Lambda function.
Here also, here we can use Cloud Functions and PubSub. Cloud Function is nothing but a Lambda.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, guys. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Same to you.
So next class is Monday or sir?
Monday. The next session is on Monday, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.